Hello, my name is Kelsey, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this quick hat using a king-size Addi knitting machine. So what you'll need is 2 balls of waste yarn, some worsted weight yarn. This is hands down my all-time favorite to use on the Addi. I'll link down below a blog post that I have where I go over some of the yarns that I've had the best and the worst experience with the Addi. Because sometimes what makes this yarn so great is it doesn't split very well. And these little plastic teeth, sometimes if the yarn splits, it can just split the yarn and just make a total mess and be a complete nightmare. So I highly recommend, if you're just getting started, to try this yarn out. And then we also have some yarn needles that we'll use at the very end to close up the hat. So first I'll show you the hat. So this is basically, it's a double knit hat. So we're basically just gonna make a tube and we'll fold it into itself and then we'll seam it closed at the top. But as you can see, it's the same on the inside and outside. So you could change colors halfway through and make it a reversible double colored hat. You can get all sorts of creative. You could do certain rows that you change colors. There's endless possibilities for creativity. All right, to get started, we're gonna take one of our balls of waste yarn. This is also just Lion Brand Pound of Love. And we are going to get to where the first black needle is right here. Now this yarn, you want it to be a different color than what you plan on using, because in the end, we're just gonna take it off and it's not gonna be part of the project. All right, so this row, we're gonna start the first row with just a small tail. You don't need a big one. And we're gonna do every other needle. So this one, it went under, the first black one. This one, we're going around the back. And this one, we're going under again. So back, front, and then continue on until you're back at the very first one. Oops. These hats, once you get the hang of making them, they work up really quickly. I really enjoy making them and donating them to the homeless at Christmas time. And I can make a really big impact with this versus if I was crocheting a hat. All right, so now that we've gotten back there, we're gonna put it into our feeder. And then we're going to go ahead and crank. I like to do between 3 and 5 rows. So as you can see right now, the one that went in the front is right there. And as it continues. So now that we're on to the next row, there's like a loop around each one. So by using the waste yarn, what we're essentially doing is we are preventing the machine from, or us on accident, from dropping stitches for your hat, because we need to grab all those stitches in the end in order to close our hat shut. All right, so I'm running out of yarn. So once I get back to the first black needle, so it's right here, I'm going to be putting this down. And I could have stopped a row earlier. I just usually eyeball it. Now we're gonna start with our actual yarn. So for this one, you wanna do, I don't know, I'd say about like 15 inches or 10 inches of a tail. Put that down right there in the feeder. And now I'm going to reset my little ticker. Mine's like a physical one. I have seen that they do make them that's digital where you just push a button, but mine is like this. All right, so now we're gonna do 112 rows. So we just start cranking And you want to make sure that you keep a very consistent tension the entire hat. Because if you don't, it won't end up very smooth. It's going to end up kind of like lopsided. Get my yarn. And I like to pull from the center. And so like when I first start a new skein of it, this is where I'll use my needle. So sometimes when you switch off, it'll try to drop a stitch. So anyways, when I first start using the skein, I like to just have it pulled directly from that. And then right now, I'm just loosely holding it like this, basically. But I allow like the skein to create the tension. I have seen on Etsy that they make little attachments that can attach right here that'll hold your yarn and keep consistent tension the whole time. But I have not tried any of those out yet. I found this works great. Another thing I really like about the Lion Brand Pound of Love is that I don't think I've ever had like a knot anywhere in the yarn before. I've always had really great experience with it, and it's really cost effective. You can make a lot of hats, and usually it's around $10.99 at the most, and you can use coupons, of course. So I feel like you can get a really big bang for your buck, but not having the knots is really, really helpful. If you've worked with other acrylic yarns, you know some brands are just terrible, or some lines of yarns, they're just terrible with knots.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find, and with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for.
All right, so that's row 111, and we are going to do one more, and we're gonna stop right before this first black tooth. All right. So now we're gonna cut our yarn. We're gonna leave about a 10 to 15 inch tail. If you're just getting started and this is like still pretty new to you, I'd leave a little bit longer of a tail. All right, so we're gonna put that down. And now we're gonna use our second ball of waste yarn. Now this is optional. You can also, instead, you could go ahead and put a needle on this tail, and you can pick up each stitch as it drops off of the tooth, each tooth. I prefer to use waste yarn just because I like to make a bunch of hats. I like to crank them first, and then later on I'll sit down in the evening time and I will do the final like stitching together all at once rather than just do one at a time. I'd rather do like 5 or 6 of them at once. So I like to do this, so this way then none of my stitches can drop. And also I have 2 kids, so always lots of distractions to take me away from finishing things. This is usually at once. Okay, so now we're gonna do 3 or 4 yarns of our waste yarn. And again, this will help prevent any of the stitches from being dropped. So like if one of the stitches got dropped, then the whole hat could come unraveled, and it's a nightmare to deal with. Let's see, we got one stitch that's stuck there, so we'll have to, and this is why it's important to use a different color yarn than your waste yarn, so you could see that this one's stuck. So what I do is I'll just pull back the blue, because that's what should be on there, the waste yarn, and then pull this off. And tighten it a little bit. So that's just like, that happened where we transitioned from our regular yarn to our waste yarn. I'm sure there's another way to fix that or prevent it, but that's just what I do, and it seems to work out fine. All right, that looks like enough waste yarn. I got some extra, but we'll just toss it in the middle. And now this is the fun part. After this row, it'll just start to just fall right off the machine naturally on its own. It's a very satisfying feeling. All right, so here we go. Here's our hat. This is the right side. See how it's kind of wide right now? It'll stretch into the shape you need it to be. So the stitches are kind of wide. And this is the wrong side. Which you could, if you do like this kind of looks like a purl stitch. If you like that instead, you could put that on the outside. I don't think it really matters. All right, and so we got our waste yarn on each side. Now I'm gonna show you how to pick up the stitches. And now we are going to pick up our stitches and assemble our hat. Let me get my tail. Put on my needle. All right, and we are going to start picking up the stitches. So we're gonna be, if you look at it right here, these are the stitches we're gonna be picking up. We're just gonna be running our tail through each and every one of these. So there, you can see that better. It's these. All right, so we'll start off.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know.
You can of course do this with a much shorter tail, because we're gonna be like cinching the whole thing together at the end. But for beginners, I recommend doing a little bit longer of a tail. And if you wanted, you could do a much longer tail and then you just save that extra yarn and use it as waste yarn. I really like using this pound of love for waste yarn because, like I mentioned, it's really durable. And I've noticed with some yarns, like the Caron Simply Soft, you can only use it as waste yarn maybe 2 times because then it just like starts to split and it doesn't work as good. So see, as we pull, it starts to cinch together. So we'll have like a bunch of extra yarn. And I've used this blue yarn that I have right here for waste yarn, I think on about 6 or 7 hats now, and it's still holding strong.
There's more calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it that I feel it.
Right, this looks like got that stitch, and that is the last one because here's our yarn again, I believe. Yep, so you can see our yarn running through right there. Goes all the way around. All right, now here is the fun part, unraveling our waste yarn. Oops, pulling it the wrong way. One side is definitely a lot easier to pull the waste yarn out than the other side. I can get that remainder out. Oops. The remainder is this little ball. All right, so that's our waste yarn. And later I'll wrap it up so I can reuse it for the next one. Okay, so we got this side done. So we'll just leave it like that right now. Just gotta flatten this out a little bit. What I love about these hats is the stitches are really forgiving. So when you stretch it, they just all go back perfectly into shape usually. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Let's find our tail. And we're gonna go around and pick up all the stitches. So it looks like this is the last stitch. I'm gonna pull through and then remove my waste yarn. So this was the first side we did. We alternated. So this side I like to just find where, pull a little tight and find where the yarn's running through and just pull it out that way. This was the first row that we did. Once we get this first row pulled through, it will come out very, very easily and quickly. This is the last one. And I'll go ahead and wrap this one up as I go. See, now it just unravels really quickly. right, so we got all our stitches picked up right here. We're gonna pull it tight and then decide which side we wanna be on the outside. See, this is what I want the outside, looks the prettiest. Not that it really matters because you can flip the hat inside out. So I'm gonna stick my arm in from the side that I wanna be facing out, grab this end, and grab the tail, then pull it through. What's so great about making hats this way is they are incredibly warm compared to just like a traditional crochet hat, because we have this double layer in here. Right, so we'll pull this one tight and then pull this outside one tight as well. And then I like to tie them together like 3 or 4 times. Pull it really tight. Let's do one more time. All right, so now I'm gonna cut about 3 inches. I'm gonna take our needle, thread it through, and then we're gonna put it in the in-between layer. What I like to do is I just like will pull it down here and pull it through and pull it like that. All right, and there we go. Stretch it out a little bit. That'll correct the stitches, and then fold the brim over. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I would love to know what yarns you like to use on your Addi knitting machine. So please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm always looking to try new yarns on the machine. All right, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.